So there is absolutely no term for Vaishya or Shudra. So those terms are newly introduced in the 10th mandala. Around 3 or 4 times the word Brahmana is there in the early and middle Ṛgvedic period without reference to without it's having any meaning related to the one of the four varnas. And 1 or 2 times the term Kshatriya is used, again not related to one of the four varnas. And the last two, the terms used for the last two varnas like Vaishya and Shudra is just appear only once in the Rigveda in the 10th mandala Purusha Sukta. So this is how all about the four varnas concepts we can find in the Rigveda. So whenever we have a narrative about Vishwamitra and Vasishtha, which talks about that Vishwamitra want to become Brahmana from Kshatriya, Varna, etc. This very clear it is a late Ṛgvedic. Even otherwise, if you look at the names of the clans emerging from the Kamadhenu for protecting the Vasishtha against Vishwamitra, which is even later than the Aitihasic period, where we have these new clans emerge like Pahlava, etc. Even attested in other alternate literature. They are very late period. So there is an evolution of this Vishwamitra Vasishtha conflict starting from the late Ṛgvedic period to maybe 100 or 200, 300 years after the lifetime of even after the lifetime of Rama and Pandavas, it continued evolving, and then we get the full later narrative about the conflict between Vasishtha and Vishwamitra. The earliest part of it is late Ṛgvedic Aitihasic narratives, and then slightly later than the Aitihasic period, in the Puranic period, it's again embellished with more information related to the new clans that were foreign clans, basically. Like Pahlava is an Iranian foreign clan, and then Yavana is basically again a to denote Westerners. 90% identification with the Greeks, but very rarely Yavana could also mean an Afghanistani or anybody invested. And then Kerala basically is like from the point of view of northern side, Kerala also is kind of very much remote and recognized in a very late period. So all this and the China, there is a mention of China also. Like all these clans are mentioned as emerging from the different parts of Kamadhenu, from Vasishtha's cow Kamadhenu to fight against Vishwamitra, etc. So there is a big evolution. Much very late clans, military clans, everything is mentioned in that narrative. So this much I was saying because why we are talking about all these things in the context of Yamuna is because there was a great battle of Sudas, which is reported by Vasishtha, the Dasarajna battle. And many of you may be seeing many of the articles written about Dasarajna battle because it's very popular subject of Rigveda. And I have covered it very detailed in my book, Rivers of Ṛgveda. But even other scholars have covered it in a very detailed in their articles and books. So Dasarajna battle, even though we don't know anything about Ṛgveda, but a lot of people will be telling a lot thing about Dasarajna battle. I see YouTube videos with millions of likes, etc. for Dasarajna battle information, but with a very sometimes very erroneous kind of informations found in these very popular YouTube videos, etc. So the Dasarajna battle has there is a one part which is one part of this entire battle was in along the battle this Parushni river, but there is one supplementary battle which is very much related to the Dasarajna battle, and my assumption is that it happened as part of the same military conquest. So there was a conquest in the eastern boundary and another conquest in the western boundary. So western boundary is more popular. That is the battle that occurred in the Parushni River. That is Indo-Pakistan border is very much famous, and I see most of the videos are talking about that. We also have many times we have talked about the Dasarajna battle and also mentioned about very new elements about it, which YouTube videos are not capturing. That is about Samvarna Bharata angle, the Puru enemy of Sudas, and how this Kuru enemy is identified with Samvarna Bharata, the ancestor of the Pandavas, and how he was an ally of Anava king Kavi Chayamana, and that is why you have a kind of synergy between the Bharatas, the Samvarna Bharata branch, and or their descendant Kuru branch have a slight affinity towards the Anava branch also. All these things because of this kind of connections, political connections. And we also know the alliance of the Vasishta after getting disappointed with the descendants of Sudas, slowly started getting affinity towards or affiliated towards Suda's enemy, that is Samvarna Bharata, the ancestor of the Pandavas. And he has forged an alliance of Samvarna Bharata and the Ikshvakus, that is western side Ikshvakus, and that was by consummating a marriage of Samvarna and Tapati, Vaivasvati, that is an Ikshvaku princess. And at the same time, the Anavas also, are very much an alliance with the Samvarna Bharatas because being common enemy to Sudas. So there was a triple alliance occurred between Anavas, Ikshvakus, and Samvarna Bharatas and their descendant Kurus somewhere in the Takshila, Pakistan region, the currently Pakistan, so Takshila region along the banks of Ṛgvedic Sarayu, which is a tributary of Sindhu River. So there the alliance formed, and then you have signature of that alliance everywhere, which is why, for example, Dasharatha marrying this Kekaya princess, Kaikeyi. So Kekaya is basically an Anava kingdom. Similarly, in the Mahabharata, this Dhritarashtra married Gandhari. Gandhara is again an Anava kingdom. So many such affiliations. Why they are having this alliance is because that earlier friendly relationships. And as a result, we also have another signature of this kind of alliances. How in the literature later to Rigveda, we have Indra slightly demoted because the Anavas are little bit not very much accepting Indra because Anavas have a little hatred towards Indra. So when they became allies, I mean, a part of the Anavas became allied to the Kurus and the Ikshvakus, in which Rama is born, and in Kuru we have Pandavas and Kauravas. They also had a minor influence on the thought process of the Kurus as well as in the Ikshvakus. So that their main problem with the Bharata kings was the worship of Indra. So slowly that Indra worship, like they new devatas emerged, etc. That happened slightly because of this influence. And so many stories about Indra started coming up. Indra Ahalya relationship, and many places Indra is mentioned as very cunning and doing tricks, all these things, because this is the basic attitude of the Anavas, and that got captured into our Puranas, etc. So you see a lot of lot of new stories which are not mentioned in the Rigveda but invented or found in the Itihasas and Puranas about Indra doing a lot of cunning things. But of course, still the Indra worship continued in the Rigvedic tradition. So Soma worship, everything related to Indra only, like Atiratra or any of the Rigvedic rituals, everywhere it is dedicated to Indra. But of course, there was slight kind of a blending of Anava thought into it. Yeah, now I'm coming to the Yamuna part. So all these things, the Strajna battle and this alliance of Anavas, Ikshvakus, then Samvarna Bharata branch, everything happened because of the Dashrajna battle on the Parushni river. Similarly, there was it's a corollary battle, which people, these scholars argue that this battle was earlier to the Parushni battle, but the jury is open about it. So I more or less consider this battle to be very close to, maybe slightly earlier than the Dashrajna battle, or maybe even slightly later also, it doesn't make any impact, which is fought on the Yamuna river. So that is one important thing that I want to discuss today. I'll just show you the map. The right time to show the map. Yeah, so here you can see the location where the Battle of Yamuna occurred. So, this is the Battle of Yamuna. This is occurring here. So what happened is that Sudas was fighting with some enemies on the Yamuna River. So they are like you can say this. There is a confederation of the Ajas, Shikras, and Yakshus under the leadership of a king named Veda. So they attacked Sudas and this region. And of course, the battle of what do you call the Dasrajana battle is you can see in another place. Show you, yeah. Yeah, the Dasrajana battle is here, right, in the Parishni, in the Pakistan border. So this battle is very much associated. This battle of Yamuna is very much associated with the Dasrajana battle, more or less in the same period. During the reign of Sudas, it occurred. So theoretically, I mean, speaking, this battle can be like few days or months earlier than the Battle of Parushni, or even a few months or a few months later than the Battle of Parushni. So that because chronologically they are more or less same period, so we can't very much clearly say about it. I have given in my books the reason for treating it in the exact correct sequence, etc. So this battle occurred along the banks of Yamuna. So just like the 10 kings confederated and fought with Sudas in the Indo-Pakistan border along Parishni River, three clans fought with Sudas in the Yamuna on the Yamuna River. So Yamuna is at the eastern border of the big empire of Sudas. Like Parushni is the western border of his empire, Vedic empire. So what happened in this battle? Of course, Sudas was victorious, and all these kings were defeated. And Bheda was also conquered, and these kingdoms started migrating to various directions. So one like Yakshu is a very interesting term. So Yakshu, you can identify with two different clans. One is like Yakshu can be identified with Yakshas, which are who are also mentioned as the guardians of the four corners of Kurukshetra, etc. So Yakshas were very much living in this area. So Yakshu can also mean Yaksha, but it also have a kind of slight connotation as Yadu, because of the Turvasa angle, because Turvasas are always mentioned in dual with Yadus. In only in certain rare occasions, this is only one rare occasion where Turvasa is coupled with Yakshu. So like solving a kind of a formula, like we can say, since Yakshu is mentioned like a kind of a partner to Turvasa, whereas we know a kind of general observation that Turvasa is always partnered with Yadus. Because of which we can actually equate Yakshu with Yadu. So maybe so I have mentioned my inferences in the reverse of reverse of Ṛgveda, that Yakshas are actually a part, maybe a special part of the Yadu lineage itself. And because there is another lineage related to the Yakshus or Yakshas, which is the Rakshasa lineage. And if you read Ramayana, we know that some of the people who are described as Yadavas in the Mahabharata and Harivamsha, they are mentioned in the Ramayana as Rakshasas. So these are all very loose definitions, right? Some people who can some perspective, somebody is not a Rakshasa, but in somebody else's perspective, that person is a Rakshasa. So from an Ikshvaku point of view, the rulers of Mathura, like Mathu and his descendant Lavana, all of them were treated as Rakshasas. And Mathu is also mentioned as marrying Ravana's cousin sister. So, of course, that completely clearly, like Mathu is treated as a Rakshasa as far as the Ikshvakus are concerned. So, Ikshvaku's perspective, Even the greatest Yadava lineage is treated as a Rakshasa lineage. The lineage of Mathu is treated as a Rakshasa lineage. So since Ramayana is already having a kind of a sense that some of the Yadavas are, according to them, Rakshasas, it is very easy or natural to that some other family of the Yadus are treated as Yakshus or Yakshas. So it is that means then we have a kind of a possibility that Yakshu can at once be Yakshas as well as Yadus. So that is the inference I have brought in the book, the Rivers of Rigveda. And Talagiri also partially agree because in Talagiri's books, he argued that Yakshu is Yadu. Yakshu, he is equating with Yadu because of this equation. Like Turvasa and Yadu are mentioned in pair multiple times. And in one single occurrence where this battle of Yamuna, Suda's enemies, there is a kind of equation of Turvasa Yakshu. So Yakshu automatically becomes a Yadu. I mean, because mostly they are pairing like that. So in my book, I have elaborated and giving more reasons. Like I mentioned about like some Yadus are treated as Rakshasas in the Ramayana. And Ramayana also clearly tells you Yakshas and Rakshasas are very close families. And they are related. They can marry each other, etc. So one family, one category of Yadavas are Yakshas, another category of Yadavas are Rakshasas. And the term Rakshasa here has to be considered as a kind of a category. No, means just because somebody is defined as a Rakshasa doesn't mean that no, that in whatever in cartoon movies you see, like with two horns and big ears and eating flesh of animals, nothing like that. I mean, flesh of man, nothing like that. It is just a kind of an attribution. Basically means one simple meaning of it is that they don't follow Vedic point of views of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. They don't agree. So any Kshatriya who doesn't agree on the four Varna system, automatically they are treated as Rakshasas. So in that sense, they are the Rakshasas, but they are, I mean, you don't see any kind of physical attribute differences between a Rakshasa or a human being. That's all in only in the Puranic imagination only. But of course, the term Rakshasa is used to denote many other things. For example, if there's somebody sees an uncivilized, like hunter-gatherer in a forest, so Aidihasic narrative automatically make them into a Rakshasa because by the definition, like they don't consider Varna system. That itself makes them a Rakshasa. But again, they are very primitive and they are hunter-gatherers. Whereas the entire civilization moved into agricultural farming, city-states and Janapadas. But some people continue to follow the hunter-gatherer kind of a life inside a forest. So they are treated as Rakshasa, like Baka, Girmira, Hidimba, like all these people in the Mahabharata are such kind of hunter-gatherer Rakshasas. In Ramayana, you have, there is one, the first Rakshasa killed Viratha. Viratha, who got killed very close to Chitrakuta because he abducted Sita. And then Rama and Lakshmana shot arrows and killed Viratha. He can also be categorized as a hunter-gatherer Rakshasa. Whereas he cannot categorize Ravana as a pure hunter-gatherer Rakshasa. He is a king of a city-state. So that is a difference. And we know Mathura, the Yadavas ruling at Mathura, they are Rakshasas, but they are not hunter-gatherers. They are city dwellers. So that is the difference. So this I have mentioned, yeah. So this is one thing. The Battle of Yamuna is a very significant battle. It's a historical battle, which we get from the chronological analysis, geographical analysis of the Rigveda. It happened on the eastern boundary of King Sudas, that is Yamuna River. And whereas the western boundary is the Parushni River of the India-Pakistan border, where 10 kings fought with Sudas. Here only three confederation of 3 kings fought with Sudas. In both battles, he became victorious. And in case both in Dasharajana battle as well as in the Parushni as well as in the Yamuna, the advisor of Sudas was Vasishta. which means Vishwamitra, because of various reasons, have retired from the position of the advisor of Sudas and moved out on for his own enterprise, which is like migration to the east and establishing of his own rulership along Ganga River and calling it Jannavi, etc. So these are all the political things that happened, and there are few more things associated with Yamuna that I will mention. So one is the Vasishta become the priest of Sudas, we covered, and Battle of Yamuna we have covered. Very small thing about no, very interesting narrative about Maruts become the patrons on the banks of Yamuna. So I have, if you remember my earlier chapters about Danastutis, where no, there is a patron king and the composer Rishi who praise the devatas and then give benefits to the king, and king support the yajna with the funding everything, and as a result of the actions of the composer, the poet, the rishi, the king will give donation. That is for that, and when they get donation, they will do insert few lines of lyrics, few lines stanzas in praise of the king, and that is called Danastuti. But there is a very rare sutta in the fifth mandala where the patrons, instead of a king, the patrons are Maruts themselves. Maruts are Devatas. This is a very rare in a scenario where the Devata themselves becomes the patrons or the supporters of the rishis. So I have explained why it has, and it has happened on the banks of Yamuna, by the way. That's why we are discussing it along with the Yamuna river. So ideally, like the Anastutis are given for the king who is supporting the rishi, but this is a rare occurrence when the Maruts themselves are mentioned as the supporters of the rishi, and when the rishis will benefited by the Maruts, and then they praise the Maruts as patrons. So there are mentioned that Prishni, the cow named Prishni, is the mother of Maruts, and Rudra is their father. So Rudra, of course, like because Rudra is a storm god, and Maruts are naturally the children of Rudra. So that is how the relationship with Marut. So as far as Ṛgveda is concerned, the father of Marut is Rudra, and their mother is Prishni, a cow, name of a cow. Prishni means spotted cow. So many spots on the black spots on the white skin, something like that. So that is there, and it can have some significance like related to the Soma ritual. So earlier, Soma was offered, the earliest version of the Soma ritual, only Soma was offered to Indra. All the Soma was offered to Indra, but then there was a different Soma pressings like morning, midday, and evening. And some part of the Soma was given to Maruts. After Indra, then Maruts are given Soma. So that change, that evolution happened in the Soma rituals. And there are a lot of narratives about it, like there are two versions of the Vrutra battle, Indra Vrutra battle. In one narrative, Indra alone fought with Vrutra and become victorious. In another version, Indra was assisted by the Maruts while he was fighting Vrutra, and then he defeats. So as per one version, only Indra is deserving the Soma, but in as per another version, both Maruts as a become, because they have assisted Indra for the victory above Vrutra. They also claim that they need to get Soma. So because of that, and of course, these different narratives are generated as a result of when the practice of giving Soma to Marut originated. So they have these new narratives emerging, and everything happened in the Ṛgvedic period. Nothing is a late Ṛgvedic. Everything is, all the entire evolution is captured in early, mid, and late Ṛgvedic period. So there is a ritual evolution of the Soma ritual that we can very clearly see here. And there is an interesting, very interesting suktas in the Ṛgveda where the Maruts like jokingly talk with Indra, like you are taking Soma alone, but you are forgetting our support for you. And then Indra replying, and that kind of a conversation, very interesting narratives, conversational narratives in the suttas. And finally, Indra agrees, okay, then Soma to be given to the Maruts also. So that, so maybe here, since the poet is mentioning Marut as pattern, but normally it could be a king ruling in the Yamuna. who initiated the practice of offering Soma to Maruts. Probably because Maruts are also considered as the medicine bringers. They in the Rigveda, the Maruts are considered as the authority of medicine. So they bring medicines from various places and cure people, etc. And correspondingly, in Ramayana, who is bringing medicine to Lakshmana and Rama? Maruti, because it is basically associated with the Ṛgvedic narrative that Maruts are the bringers of medicine. So Valmiki knows the Rigveda, he knows Rigveda, and so he is considering the Hanuman as the a kind of representation of the Maruts. And naturally, Hanuman brings the medicines whenever is required for Lakshmana and Rama. So in the Rigveda, whatever role of medicine bringer Marut, same role in Ramayana, Hanumat is playing like as a medicine bringer.